You ever pull into your driveway at 2 in the morning, just bone tired after a 10-hour haul down I-5, thinking the hardest thing you'll face is getting your suitcase out of the truck without waking up every joint in your body, and then realize, nah, tonight's got something way crazier in store for you? Yeah, that was me, crawling home from Portland, headlights sweeping across my property when I saw 'em, 4 people, on my land, at 2 a.m. acting like they owned the place. It would have been almost funny if it wasn't so insane these folks thought I was still 300 miles away stuck at some ecology conference. But here they were creeping around my beehives, dumping what looked like chemical containers, planting evidence with the same energy as a high school drama club, and right at the center of it all, directing like a villain from a bad movie, was Claudette Ashford, our HOA president. You know, the type clipboard queen, ironed pants at 2 a.m., barking orders, convinced she's the law. Let me back up a second, because I know you're probably thinking, what kind of trouble did you get yourself into, Everett? Well, here's the deal. I'm 41 biologist, spent 15 years in academic research before I bought this 5-acre patch on the edge of Meadowbrook. Wanted some quiet, a place for my bees, maybe grow a wildflower meadow, nothing crazy. Bought the land before there even was an HOA, which, trust me, was important, meant their rules didn't apply to me no matter how many community guidelines Claudette printed out and shoved in my mailbox. That little loophole, it drove her nuts. 8 months ago, she showed up with a binder thicker than my old dissertation, full of requirement standards, threats about public health hazards. Claudette claimed my bees were dangerous. The county disagreed. She stormed out of that meeting with a look that could curdle milk. That's when my buddy Maddox, ex-Marine, lives nearby kind of guy who sees the world in patterns, told me she's the type to create trouble if she can't find it. I should have listened harder. Maddox, he's got this sixth sense for when stuff just feels off. So when I left for Portland, I asked him to check on the hives. He agreed, but the text he sent me at 6 p.m., call me when you get a signal. Something's off. Kept replaying in my mind the whole ride back. And then pulling in, I see what he meant. The gates hanging open, lock cut clean through. 4 figures moving by flashlight. Claudette in the middle giving orders. One guy filming another, arranging containers. Somebody else standing by with paperwork, staging the scene like they'd rehearsed it. I went cold. This wasn't vandalism. It was an operation. But here's where the universe served up a little poetic justice. Maddox was parked 200 yards away, night vision camera rolling, recording every move. Sometimes paranoia is just good preparation. So I killed. My lights kept the engine running, heart pounding in my chest, trying to figure out whether to jump out and confront them or just call the cops. And then Maddox's headlights hit the whole circus. High beams, engine rumbling, pinning them in place like deer caught on opening day. They froze, Claudette shouting orders, one guy fumbling for the containers, another still filming like this was going to be his ticket to the 6 o'clock news. Maddox's voice came through my phone. Stay in your truck, Everett. Let them finish. I've got everything on video. His tone was all calm, military. You know, the kind that tells you to just breathe and let the trap spring shut. But here's the twist, they'd planned this down to the minute. Maddox figured it out later, cross-referenced security footage, even pulled up the HOA building's parking lot tapes. Claudette held a secret meeting after the regular board session, roped in her crew, Randall, the media guy, Marlene, the secretary who signed whatever Claudette shoved in front of her, Vernon, the guy with keys to all the HOA's tools. They'd waited for me to leave, confirmed my conference schedule, even mapped out which route I'd take home. This was about making my place look like a chemical dump so the county would shut me down for good. Their plan: dump HOA-owned pesticides near my hives, film it as evidence, forge a paper trail of fake complaints, then call in a favor with a county inspector. If you've never seen grown adults commit 3 felonies before breakfast, let me tell you, it's a weird thing to witness. Vernon worried about getting caught. Claudette told him not to sweat it. HOA boards have broad investigative powers. Randall worried about my cameras, she said. We're not vandalizing, we're performing a community service. Yeah, that happened. They thought they were untouchable. The real comedy. They all underestimated Maddox. See, he'd already caught Claude casing the property 2 days before binoculars taking notes on my fence line. That's when he decided to up the surveillance, install 2 extra night vision trail cams, and monitor the feeds every evening. Vernon drove by later to photograph the gate. Randall flew his drone over the hives, mapping out shots. Maddox caught every bit. Sometimes military training just looks like hypervigilance until you need it. So there they were caught in the act, and Maddox let the camera roll, let them dig holes, bury containers, scatter papers, photograph evidence. When they finished, he started his truck, lit him up, and called me. I watched Claude try to talk her way out, claiming HOA emergency protocols, waving her arms like she was still running a meeting. The others panicked. Randall dropped his phone. Vernon tried to back away from the mess he'd made. Marlene looked ready to faint. And the second they started trying to remove evidence, that was the move from stupid to felonious. Maddox stepped out, all 6-foot Marine holding his camera like a weapon, told them, "Nobody leaves until the sheriff arrives. If you try, I'll add fleeing the scene." He called 911, calm as you please, laid out the facts. 4 trespassers, evidence tampering, hazardous materials, everything recorded. Claudette lost her composure, started yelling about false detention, but nobody was buying it. When the deputies showed up, blue and red lights strobing over the meadow, the HOA president went right into official mode, trying to convince them this was all legitimate inspection work. Didn't work. Deputies watched the footage every single minute, time-stamped, high-res, clear as day. They saw the gate get cut, containers, staged papers dropped. One by one, the trespassers' stories fell apart. Marlene cracked first, admitted the meeting, the plan, everything. The others followed except Claude, who just kept insisting she'd done nothing wrong. They were arrested right there. Trespass, fraud, vandalism, conspiracy. Claude kept arguing, even in handcuffs, that she had evidence too, until a deputy pointed out the video, showed them placing the very material she claimed to be documenting. Sometimes people just can't help digging the hole deeper. You want a satisfying ending. The next morning, the county inspector called, said I had a hazardous materials complaint. I told him, "Funny, the people who filed that are in jail right now, and I have all the evidence you need." He put the case on hold. My lawyer Maddox's recommendation looked over the mountain of documentation and said, "This is the cleanest HOA abuse case I've seen in years. We filed a civil suit, trespassing, defamation, fraud, the whole works." The criminal case moved fast. 3 pled out, testified against Claude. Her lawyer tried every trick, claimed privacy, claimed qualified immunity, argued HOA boards could investigate non-members. The judge shut all that down. The jury watched our footage, heard from other residents who'd been bullied by Claude for years, and didn't take long to decide. They found her liable, awarded me damages, legal fees, and a permanent restraining order. But the real win wasn't money. It was watching Meadowbrook wake up. The HOA board got dissolved, new leadership voted, and transparency rules passed. I got a formal apology signed by 42 neighbors who finally saw through the community service charade. Claudette moved out, had to sell her house at a loss. The vice president and maintenance supervisor lost their jobs in property management. Marlene did community service, teaching kids about environmental science, which, if you ask me, is the universe's idea of irony. Me. I used the settlement money for better security, expanded my bee operation, even started a legal defense fund for other folks fighting HOA overreach. And the best twist, the new HOA board hired me to run pollinator workshops, turn the neighborhood into a haven for native bees. Imagine that after everything, I'm standing in the community center teaching the same folks who once saw me as the enemy how to plant wildflowers and protect ecosystems. Maddox still won't take any credit, says he just did what friends do. He stops by for coffee, checks my cameras, keeps an eye out for trouble. We sit on the porch watching the bees work, feeling the land breathe easy. One morning, as the meadow bloomed and the hives hummed, he said, "This is what order really looks like. Not rules on a clipboard, balanced trust. letting things work the way they're supposed to. And he's right. Real order isn't about control. It's about systems working honestly, about people standing up when things go sideways. I didn't win because I yelled the loudest. I won because I kept records, trusted my gut, and let the truth speak for itself. In the end, evidence beats arrogance every single time. So here's my question for you. Ever tangled with an HOA or a power-hungry board? Do you think justice works? Or does it only work if you've got proof? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me your wildest HOA nightmare or just weigh in. Where's the line between protecting a community and abusing power? Smash that, share, if you believe in standing up for what's right, and don't let anybody tell you the truth doesn't matter. Because trust me, it does.